Am I crazy for thinking Corey has a really good chance of becoming MVP this season? Okay. Before we get into it, I feel like there's one giant caveat for this argument. All of this necessitates the Washington Justice being the playoff team. And I'm not talking about barely scraping by in a play-ins type of playoff team. I mean a solidified top 6 team. So if we use last season as a measurement, it took about 16 wins to become a top 6 playoff team. And obviously, I think the league got a lot better, so I could even push that down to maybe 15 wins as the mark that you need to hit in order to get inside the playoffs. Last season, the Washington Justice won 8 games. However, they went 6-1 in Stage 4, so if you prolong that over the course of a season with an improved roster and probably a meta that fits their best players, I really don't think it's unreasonable for them to hit 16 wins and slide into the playoffs as a locked-in contender. With that said, I think Corey has a really good chance of being MVP this season. So if we look at the last 2 season MVPs, JJoNak and Sinatraa, there are a couple things that link them. Obviously, being on dominant teams. You have to be on a winning team to win MVP. And we saw that with last year's MVP finalists. Super, Janu, Twilight, Sinatraa, Gushue were all on winning teams and were the star players for those teams. Another thing that linked those 2 players was a super exciting playstyle. Let's be real. Nobody is going to pick Animo for MVP, even though he has a giant impact on the New York Excelsior, because homie's boring. Not only do you need statistical dominance, but you need an exciting playstyle to keep your name out there for fans and media to think about you. If we're talking about exciting playstyles and statistical dominance, Corey got that. In Stage 4, Corey put up some of the most insane Hanzo and Widowmaker stats we've ever seen. First, in final blows per 10 minute as Hanzo in teamfights. First, in hero damage per 10 minute as Hanzo in teamfights. First, in first elimination rate as Hanzo. First, in first elimination rate as Widowmaker, and first in final blows per 10 minutes as Widowmaker in teamfights. Not only did he dominate statistically, but he had an exciting playstyle, having risky plays, insane pop-offs, at sometimes he looked like an aimbot. And on top of that, his team was winning. At a 6-1 clip, they were right up there with the Atlanta Reign and the San Francisco Shock for Stage 4 dominance, and if there was a Stage 4 playoff, they might have been favorites to win that. Now obviously, that's a small sample size, and in Season 3 we're going to get to see a prolonged period to see what Corey's really made of. However, if the World Cup is any indication, I think Corey's going to do pretty great. A lot of people thought Corey should have been World Cup MVP for some of his insane performances, and if he keeps that up with an upgraded roster, all eyes are going to be on him. And another reason why I think he's going to be MVP is that the Washington Justice performance hinges on him. He's their star player. They are going to play around him. If Corey succeeds, the team should succeed. And that's a recipe for being an MVP caliber player. We see that with Gushue. When he was an MVP finalist, yes, it was because he was one of the best Winstons in the league, but he was the key player on a playoff team. Same thing could happen with Corey this season. So, we've talked about statistical dominance and exciting playstyle, but honestly, I think the biggest reason Corey might win MVP is narrative. Let's be honest here. In sports, it's not always the best player that wins MVP. If that was the case, Russell Westbrook would have never won the MVP that year over James Harden. However, Russell Westbrook had the narrative of being the first player to average a triple-double since Oscar Robertson so long ago, and that narrative influence pushed him into becoming the MVP. I think the same thing could happen with Corey. If Corey can lead his team to 16 or 17 wins and a top 6 playoff finish, on top of having an exciting performance, and with the knowledge that his team only won 2 games in the first 3 stages last year, Corey has a lot going for him when it comes to this comeback narrative, and fans love a good comeback. Add that on to him getting a World Cup victory before this season starts, and Corey has a lot of momentum going for him right now. Yes, we have our obvious names. I think Sinatra's going to be an MVP candidate. Obviously, Prophet will be in the conversation. Same with JJoNak. There are new players like Alarm who could push their way into the conversation, and great established stars like Haxel are obviously going to be in there. But when you look at all things considered, I genuinely believe Corey has a really good chance of becoming MVP this year. So what do you think? Am I completely full of it and a Corey fanboy? Or do you agree that Corey could possibly be the MVP this season? Let me know in the comments. And hey, like, subscribe, and check out the Scrapyard Overwatch League podcast. Me and my two hosts talk about competitive Overwatch every week, and sometimes the broader esports world in general. Thank you for entering the Scrapyard.